Good afternoon. A very warm welcome again to all the listeners and viewers of webinar series 5. Today, again we are here in continuation of our webinar series with one of most prominent and most respective family member of Amity Education Group. Before I start this webinar for our students, I just want to read a brief profile of Dr. Sanjeev Bansal, who is the director of Amity Business School and our speaker today on the topic called Changing Paradigms of Education. So before we start, I just read through a brief profile of Dr. Bansal. He is the director and head of Amity Business School. Dr. Sanjeev Bansal is the director. Under his leadership, ABS has scaled high and has ranked in the top 10 business schools in India. It has also been recently conferred with prestigious Palmer Award by Wharton School of Business. He has been associated with Amity University since its inception and has been the helm of several paradigm alterations brought in ABS in the university. An admired academician, his doctoral work in exemplary study in the area of decision sciences from Delhi, in an acclaimed career span of 24 years in teaching, research, and consultancy, he has been invited to be part of several prestigious academic professional bodies, and his advisory capacity has steered them to success. He is an avid researcher and has more than 95 research papers in prestigious journals to his credit. He has authored 6 international books, which have been exceptionally well received. He has guided several research scholars to produce work of immense educational impact. Apart from his areas of specialization, he also likes to explore the research, the vistas of spirituality, management, and quality of work life. A team leader who leads by example. He is respected for his humble demeanor and visionary administrative skills. He has spearheaded numerous initiatives in the interest of his students who are very close to his heart. With his help of exceptional people skills, he has created a network of the corporate, alumni, students, and faculty members to work in synergy to take Amity Business School to unprecedented heights. In the distinguished career, he has many accomplishments, is hailed as any institution builder, beloved teacher, and ardent researcher. And all, one of my personal favorite, he has been always a guiding force for me and guiding as a big brother. So here, now I present to you Dr. Professor Sanjeev Bansal for today's webinar series. Please welcome. Please put your hands together.
Thank you, Nishant. Thank you so very much for the kind words. In fact, all these profiles of mine actually make me more humble. And I just pray to Almighty to make me worthy of all these good words. Thank you. Hello, friends. How are you? This is first experience of me for a webinar, and this is slightly different for me. So kindly excuse me if I make some mistakes. But let me just tell you, when Mr. Nishant asked me for this webinar, and he asked me for a topic of the choice, I said, Nishant, one topic which is close to my heart is education, because I'm a teacher by choice. And when I say I'm a teacher by choice, then definitely education is something where I can definitely speak a lot. And I chose a topic, changing paradigms of education. Now, I'm in a different kind of scenario where I cannot ask you questions, and I'm the only person who will be speaking today. But I'm just keeping all these questions to you, where you can just write all these questions, you can just answer to yourself, you can discuss with me in future if you wish to. But these are the questions which are being faced by the society nowadays. Whenever I read newspaper nowadays, daily, I see something happening, something wrong happening. And when I, as an educationist, as a teacher, when I see to all these things, I feel only one solution exists for all the problems ranging from terrorism, crime, corruption, whatever it is. The only solution to all these problems is education. And education, again, value-based education. When I speak about education, friends, I feel education and value of education is something which is going to be immortal for times to come. And I am of confirmed belief that solution of all the problems, master key of all the problems will remain education. So before I say something about changing paradigms, I just try to search about the history of education from ancient time and till now. From ancient to the modern times, our education system is value-based, and India has the history of value education. The history of Brahminical education system is the most ancient. In education tradition dating back to the Vedic age, followed in the country up to the present times, is based on the individual teacher with his small group of disciples and pupils in the Guru Graha. Guru Graha is, as in we call it Guru Graha or Guru's house, teacher's house, as it termed. And the tradition of this individual personalized teaching used to be called Upanishad. Upanishad is the word Upanishad is being derived from Upa, that is near, knee, down, and Shad, to sit. That is sitting down near in group of people, sit near the teacher to learn from him. Gurus used to be the only and ultimate source of knowledge without any dispute or cross-check, and they used to be the role models. In fact, today, that in the changing paradigm, everything is being changed, and the philosophies are being changed. But there used to be a time when whatever teacher used to say, it used to be taken as the gospel. It used to be taken as the Brahma Vakya, and nobody used to counter it. But the philosophy has changed. The philosophy then that time was an erudite teacher, edified his pupil, and according to Shatpatra Brahmana, held his student within him as in a womb, impregnates him with his spirit and delivers him in a new birth. Such a pupil then become a Vijaya or twice born in a new existence. That used to be the philosophy of our education system. Now, the time from that individual teaching changed to Vidyalayas and ultimately to Vishwavidyalaya, which we nowadays call university. But if you just see the words oldest university is Nalanda, which goes back to the year 600 BC in Takshila, and it's basically a university from India only, where the entry age was 16 in those times. And those times also I was amazed to see the facts, courtesy Sir Google, that 68 subjects used to be taught, and lot many people from various countries used to study in those days. And 600 BC, friend, I'm referring to. After that, when I tried to search about the history of universities, I found in UK the history of universities goes back to Oxford and Cambridge, way back in 1167 to 1207. In US, the university system started with Harvard, originated in 1636. In our own India, we started with the University of Madras, Calcutta, and Mumbai, approximately the same year in 1857. And the institute, as an autonomous body, Roorkee Institute, came in 1847. So the history of education is too old, but when we speak about in terms of documented records, we say that in the UK, US, in India especially, the history is not so old in contemporary the world. In Delhi and NCR, when we speak about the universities, the first university which came into existence was University of Delhi, started from a small college in Daryaganj, in Old Delhi, in 1922. So from that time to now, I think lot many things have been changed. Lot many things have been changed. There is a paradigm shift in the education system. When you speak about the older system, we used to say the Brahmanas or the Rishis used to deliver, and from Rishis to Brahmanas you came, Brahmanas to Acharyas, Acharyas to Gurus, and Gurus to the teachers of the modern time. When we speak about Brahmanas of whether Brahmanas used to be the teachers or teachers used to be the Brahmanas, it's a question of debate. I will not go into detail of that. But Brahmanas used to be the teachers, and they used to do Upanishad. After that, in latest time, we have all the teachers of modern contemporary knowledge. We used to start from oral teaching, from hymn teachings. Thereafter, that education paradigm shifted, and we came back to the new system of chalk and duster. From chalk and duster, we moved to the green boards, and from green boards, we moved to whiteboards. And now, today, I am giving you this lecture through webinar. This is the changing paradigm of education. Today, I am speaking through webinar. I am speaking through. I am going to give you the education through MOOC. I am going to give you online education, and that is what being seen as tomorrow. But friend, this is basically not the system which we are actually discussing today. When we speak about changing education, changing paradigms of education, we are actually speaking about education, curriculum, types, methodology, and everything. I spoke to you about the history of Vishwavidyalayas, history of education system, types of teachers we used to have, types of students we used to have. But if you just see the history pertaining to education in India specifically, till 1960, when I refer back, there were very few takers of higher education. There were very few takers of higher education, and most of the students used to complete their education in schools only. And on the basis of that education, plenty of them used to get very good jobs. So one thing was very sure, that knowledge level was very high in those times. From 60 to 70, there was a different era altogether, and graduation was becoming more prominent. 70s to 80s was an era where multiple degrees came into existence. People were looking after the jobs. Placements were a problem. A lot many people were doing multiple degrees, multiple educational qualification they were acquiring, and still they were not able to get the required job. At the same time, I will be just saying, if you just see the changing paradigms of education system, the education system is being changing from west to east in terms of the world, and from south to north in terms of Indian education system. As in, when we say uh, from west to earth, west to east, the education system is shifting, the changing pedagogies and everything. And from southern part of India to northern part of India, I see there is a lot many changes happening. For example, when we speak about technical education, till 80s we were having only uh, conventional education, conventional programs, conventional courses, and thereafter all of a sudden there was a requirement of technical courses, and southern part of India were the first one where they started with the technical education courses, engineering courses. And that was a time, friends, when all the students from various parts of India used to travel to these states in south and Maharashtra south, and some states in central part of India only, to study technical courses. We in India, we were having some engineering colleges, some known educational institutes, but still most of the students used to prefer to these southern states, southern parts of India for the education, because of some obvious reasons. After 80s, after 85, 89, things again changed, and again, especially after 1992, after privatization of Indian sectors, education also became more privatized, and more private universities started entering this field. That was a time when technical education was also introduced in Delhi and NCR, also in number of other states. Technical educational institutes started, and that was a time when lot many other changes were also taking the place. For example, IT, information technology, was taking a new leap in those areas. Before that, we were not having any operating systems, and after 90s, we were having all these Microsoft things in order. So that was the time when actually lot many changes in terms of education system around the world were taking place. 2000 has seen a new change in the entire education system. Then entire education system is changing, where now we are moving more towards measurable things. When University Grant Commission was started, now the idea was to monitor the progress of the institutes, and some other objectives were there for UGC. But after UGCs, after all the technical educations, after technical educational councils, nowadays a new thing has emerged. This is called accreditations and rankings. When we speak about the accreditations, rankings, and all these phenomena, a new thing has emerged. This is a requirement of measurable outcomes. I was just discussing with somebody few hours back that measurable outcomes is something which is basically the need of the key. At the same time, in education system, one more change which is very prominent, which has taken place in the last 40 years, is online education. This is now online education. If we speak specifically in terms of India, it started way back in 1979, when we started with a school in Delhi, National Open School for schools education system. In University of Delhi also, we started with some evening courses classes for especially for employed people. And thereafter, University of Indira Gandhi National Open University started, and there we started with all these correspondence courses. But in other parts of country, there were number of institutes which were offering online and correspondence education, and there were basically students were studying through these mediums, and they were basically into at the same time they were involved in some other activities also. They were doing jobs also. This was a new shift in education system which came very late in India especially. And if I see today the things have changed. When I speak about education system of India, which started from chalk and duster to green board to whiteboard. If you just see nowadays, all these things are not going to work. All these things are changed. We are now more speaking about advanced technology systems. We are speaking about application based teaching systems. We are speaking about case study method systems, especially in the technical education. If I speak about management system, if I speak about the management education, which started in 1881 by Wharton Business School in the world, and ultimately in India we started in late 50s with XLRI in the helm of affairs, and in Delhi we started this education in 60s, where we started with the education of management. And teaching pedagogy used to be different in earlier times, but after 1905, when Harvard started with a case study technology, the pedagogy of education system changed. If I speak about the changing paradigm of this education system now, what is in store for tomorrow? Can somebody answer me? I know. I mean, you can all speak about, you can all debate about, you can all discuss about, but the one thing is very sure, very clear about that in changing paradigm education system, today is not the word of traditional or conventional education system, but this is the era of advanced education system where we have to think about competency based education system. I am very sure all of you must be knowing about competency based education system. Competency based education system, or CBES, when we say, it basically means in our program attributes to graduate attributes, we have to include all the measurable outcomes and all the learning outcomes in our program mission and vision. And that is what we are doing. When we speak about the program, now we have to clearly define the mission, we have to clearly define the vision, and then we have to include the attributes which are going to be measured on the basis of this program after the completion of the program, called as SLOs. And this is something which I feel is the changed system of education, where we are speaking about, where we are measuring the students on the basis of their performance, on the basis of their learning outcomes. So it is definitely different from a system where we used to work, on a system where we used to say that whatever teacher has said is gospel, whatever teacher has taught is over, whatever teacher has given us in writing is complete notes. Now that era is changed. Today, as a student of mathematics, if I study something from my teacher, I know what teacher is teaching. If the teacher is fumbling, if the teacher is not teaching the things correctly, I may not respond, I may not say, but one thing is very sure. One thing is for sure, that I know the truth. I just out of sheer respect, I may not ask the teacher, sir, whatever you are teaching is actually from the book which I have already read in the morning. Now the question arises, if that is the system, if that is the paradigm, then what we should do all? What we should do all? So, like, if I speak as a teacher in the capacity of a teacher, I feel that, like, as a teacher, I have to go to the class prepared, definitely. But if I prepared from the same notes from which my students are also studying, then my preparation will be definitely a waste. Then what should I do? What should be the change? Again, the answer is within us. When I speak about chalk and duster class, the time was different. When I speak about green board or whiteboard class, time was different. But when I speak about application based class, when I speak about case study based class, when I speak about rote learning based class, when I speak about experiential learning based class, the concept is different. There used to be a time when I used to have one particular course and I used to say, all right, 30 classrooms hours are given to this particular course and you have to study for 30 classroom hours. Whatever I teach, you take it as a gospel, you just make the notes. These 2, 3, 4 books are only the books which you should refer. And ultimately, on the basis of this book, this system, note, this note you have to complete. Now, this system is not going to work. If I just restrict my student now that you have to refer to only one course, one book, one topic, I am very sure one fine day he's just going to ask me, sir, I have already done this. So, in a changing paradigm, what I should do? First thing, which Amity as a university, Amity Business School, and all the institutions of Amity University, Uttar Pradesh have very successfully implemented one course which all of you must be knowing. And in fact, I am very proud when I speak about this system. This is called CBCS. How many of you know about CBCS? I do not know. But CBCS, or choice-based credit system, is something which is actually initiated by UGC, University Grant Commission, but which is being basically given to all the university as a mandate from UGC to implement. But friends, you will be very surprised, you will be very shocked to know that even the universities which are in the preview of UGC, all the government universities also, very few of them have opted for this system. Can you tell me why? Because when I was speaking about the changing paradigm of education system, when I was speaking about the changes in the education system which has taken place over the last 2000 years, or in the last 200 years, or in the last 100 years, or in the last 50 years, and especially in the last 20 years, lot many things have been changed. Lot many things have been changed. And when I speak about student learning outcomes, friends, when I speak about student learning outcomes, then be sure, be sure that the old age methods of teaching are not going to work. We have to now reinvent, re-engineer, and redefine our education. And that is what is happening today. Today, when we speak about CBCS system, which I was speaking about, why universities are not taking it. In India, when we started with our 10 plus 2 system, the system was basically started with a very different objective in their mind. People started the system with actually with CBCS only in mind. That was a system where they actually thought about 10 plus 2 plus 3 system, where they spoke about that in class 11, a student of economics, if wants, then he should be allowed to give physics also an option. Photography can go along with commerce. Commerce can go along with political science. Political science should go along with mathematics, or and so on. But it never happened. Resources were one problem. Then uh, proper knowledge or awareness was another problem. And just because of all these problems, those things couldn't be materialized. But with a changing paradigm of system, changing paradigm of time, changing paradigm of education system, all these things are now possible. When privatization happened, especially in the education system, when universities like Amity came into existence, like we started our journey in 1995 with Amity Business School, then nobody must have believed that at one point of time we will be in the top 10 institutes of India. But it happened. And how? It was all because of this application and implementation of these changing paradigms of education in the school and in the university. And let me tell you, friend, philosophy always flows from the top, and this was something where our promoters also acted in a very positive way, and they always taught us that whatever best is possible, whatever best is available in the world, we should, as an education institute, implement it in the first go. And that is what we did. Last year, last year, we spoke about uniform course coding, and in the university, when we started with this concept, we were having large number of courses, friends. I mean, many of you, especially the students who have just joined or who are doing second year, they may not have seen that face actually. But if you just speak to your seniors, the system was different. There were lot many more credits. There were lot many theoretical parts in the knowledge of courses, and credits were basically not having much of practical outputs. Practical knowledge was slightly lesser. Fieldwork was slightly lesser. But when we reinvented ourselves, when we adopted uniform course coding, then we found that there are a number of courses which are actually now redundant. And after this marathon exercise, when we finally finalized the courses of university, we realized that we have actually cut short the courses by one-fourth. One-fourth of the courses are now actually available, which were basically there in a very large number in earlier times. When we speak about uniform course coding and ultimately choice-based credit system, I am very sure number of universities, number of institutes actually are not knowing about it. But you, as a student of Amity, you are all well versed and you are all well aware of the fact that choice-based credit system is something where you are now beyond one subject, you are beyond one program, you are beyond one domain, and you are actually doing a lot many things other than only classroom teaching. You are beyond academics, you are beyond classroom. If you just speak to I may be slightly biased when I speak about all these examples, when I give all these examples pertaining to management. But when you speak about management education, if you just see, when I speak about case study based education, or I speak about all these pedagogies, if I speak about field work, then you must be realizing that the kind of learning which you are getting now as a part of choice based credit system, this is something, friends, which never happened before. Which never happened before, and this is something which is basically a very great thing to learn about. Again, in the same pretext, there is a small example which I would like to give. When few years back, when we stopped giving laptops to our students, somebody asked me why we are not giving laptops to our students. Then I said, because now our students have become beyond laptops. What do you mean by that? In the changing paradigm of education, change of technology also have played a very big role. Now, if I foresee, if you ask me as an educationist, if I speak about changing system or changing education system, online education is another benchmark which I feel that in times to come it's going to be it's going to create a great market for itself. When you speak about online education, like in I was just going through the history of online education also. When we started in late 70s, it was like there used to be very few takers of correspondence education, or online education was not there actually. And people used to think that correspondence education, or this kind of education where you are not having regular classes, this is something which is incomplete knowledge. People used to think that correspondence knowledge is actually incomplete, and people used to look strangely to the people who used to clear their degrees and their diplomas from correspondence educations, through correspondence from institutes of correspondence educations. But times have changed. Indira Gandhi National Open University, which started in early 80s, like it's a central government university, it actually started the trend where they spoke about correspondence education in a different perspective altogether. Last year, I attended one conference where there were a number of representatives from various parts of India regarding online education, and I was amazed to see the database there when I found that every university across India, especially in the online and correspondence education, are having lakhs of viewers, lakhs of followers, lakhs of people participating in this kind of education. So, friends, I foresee, if you just see as a changing system, I feel tomorrow's education is online. Tomorrow's education is through webinars. Tomorrow's education is through MOOCs. This is basically something which is going to happen. But do you mean that after this kind of system, our age-old this education system is going to be redundant? No. Like when we speak about ebooks, for example, few years back somebody asked me, "Sir, if we give the books to the student, then it's going to be great hit." I said, in times to come, people are just going to refer to ebooks. I was not wrong, but I was not right also. Last week there was a news in the newspapers that though ebooks are popular, but still print books are having their own demand, and this is basically something encouraging. So this thing is just telling us, this thing is just showing us that there may be changes in the system, there may be changes in the pedagogy, there may be changes in the methodologies, there may be changes in the attire of the teachers, there may be changing in the attitude of the student, there may be changes in the attitude of the teachers, but value-based system of education system of the world is not going to change. When I speak about education, one thing, let me just tell you, friends, is very, very sure that education is something which is not going to die. Education is something which is definitely going to be with you always. And as I started this lecture, I said that education is immortal. The values given by education is immortal, is very sure. Because when you speak about education system and the values of education, values given by education, one thing is very sure, friends, that education is something which is changing the human, which is changing the humanity, which is changing the world. And if right kind of education, right kind of value-based education, which we are all we are all trying to spread, especially in Amity, as a group, I see we are trying to inculcate all the objectives of modern and value-based education in our system. I actually feel very proud when I say that we are the first university as Amity University of Uttar Pradesh to implement choice-based credit system, and I mean it. Because when I speak to the people, when I go to different conferences, when they speak about rebooting of education system, I feel Amity is running far ahead. Amity is going great guns, and Amity is actually a different kind of structure. But it does not mean that we have become complacent. We have not become complacent. From last 2 weeks, we were a team of management studies were working on a accreditation process. And let me just tell you, friend, one more good phenomena about education is every day in the education system, as a teacher, as a student, as an observer, as an auditor, you will feel every day is a new learning. When I say education is a new learning every day, I mean it. Like I told you about the process which we were going for the last 2 weeks. Last week, we conducted a workshop and we found that we have achieved something as a direct tool of assessment for the accreditation procedure. And all the team members were so happy and elated. And that was the crux of the story. That is the crux of the story. That if a system can give you the inner happiness, a system can give you the inner strength, a system can give you the inner force, then definitely that system is not going to die for sure. And if you speak about value-based education system, or if you speak about any system which consists of the values, friends, be sure, be assured that this system is only and only for positive changes. With that, I say you thanks to listening me carefully. Thank you so very much. Have a nice day.